It's the brother Babaluku, founder of the Vuvuka Foundation, all the way from Kampala. Also the pioneer of the Back to the Source movement, also of the Vuvuka Nation, and indeed the East Africa Builders Collective. And of course, indigenous hip hop is us. So when we talk about hip hop culture, it's our honor and pleasure to always connect with communities to ensure that our relatives are meeting and that we could trade knowledge and be able to transcend whatever we feel, we need to tap into the higher realms to keep on serving our people and our communities. The word hip hop itself originates from our relatives that went to the transatlantic slave trade within the various diasporas. And it manifests itself to the Bronx, New York, the birthplace of hip hop culture. And when we see what our relatives were dealing with, the oppression, the levels of being neglected, being ostracized and marginalized, a hip-hop culture was birthed out of a need to find peace, out of a need to be proactive, out of a need to create a whole new place and space where someone could actually feel worthy and have their dignity. But from an African context, having had the pleasure to go to the Bronx, having had the pleasure to travel around America, I've also started to push the agenda of the indigenous hip-hop practitioner. Because when we look at hip-hop, in its essence, it's actually the blueprint is here on the continent. It's in every tradition, it's in every culture, it's in the ideas of our bonfires, it's in the ideas of our poetry. It gives us the ability to actually know that it's an ancestral practice. It's not just something that manifested from the Bronx now. So we as indigenous hip-hop practitioners have been given the opportunity to deepen and bring it back to the source, so that our relatives now can also transcend their diasporic limitations and restrictions to journey and reconnect with the continent. The significance of Hip Hop Appreciation Week is to give us an idea as hip hoppers, to recollect, to celebrate, and also reevaluate ourselves in lieu to the impact we've had in our communities. Hip hop is such a global phenomenon that at the end of the day, when we're able to come together, our energies and our knowledges allow us to see how deep we've been able to imprint, not only ourselves as individuals, our self-development, but the communities we live around, and so that is worth celebrating. That is worth reminding of self that, hey, we've been able to accomplish this. And so you get to feel like when you're, going to Hip Hop Appreciation Week, yes, it's about honoring your elders. It's about honoring those who've supported you along the way. It's about, showing your appreciation to those within your space that are actually standing with you as you continue to embark on your journeys and as you continue to build your vision. So Hip Hop Appreciation Week allows us as hip hoppers to definitely celebrate ourselves, to celebrate our land, to celebrate our people, and to break bread with one another. The future of hip hop culture is us and those who will come after us. Hip hop is such a powerful voice, and because its core is to transform the human soul or the human being, it allows its existence to continue, none other than any genre of music. So the future of hip hop culture will always live among our villages, our cities, our towns, echoing the truth of activism, echoing the truth of advocacy, echoing the truth of building and responsibility, and also peace building. So you get to understand that as communities, we will continue to see our young people speaking, out loud in their spaces and having the ability to recreate and innovate, to imagine, infinite ways that they could impact and create new ways and find new solutions to heal our communities. So the future of the culture is the medicine to everyone's soul. We will continue to be here, bringing, all of us together to ensure that our people are growing, our communities are thriving, and that indeed our children are having a commendable platform to stand on to celebrate those who came before them. They always say when you're able to reflect in the spirit of those who came before you, you get to understand and extract wisdom and knowledge that will anchor you to see the future you could participate in. And when we look at the vision of hip-hop culture and where we think it would take the continent, it will definitely bring us more together. It will unify the masses. It will bring back dignity to our communities. It will show young people their powerful contribution to the spaces they serve. It will guide them into an accountability space that they're responsible for the places that they move through and the places that they build in. So when we think of that, that's that transformative nature of hip-hop culture, because when you self-transform, in hindsight, you now walk in your community as an example of that light. And so hip-hop will continue to be the light. The vision is that young people on the continent now can walk around rapping in their indigenous languages, can philosophize around the idea of creating their new knowledges. I mean, you look at Amorotai itself. If young people here who did hip-hop were able to create a whole curriculum that teaches people about this region, in hindsight, that will bring more power to them. And so other hip-hoppers around the world will come to study what they're doing. That kind of influence. In hip-hop culture, we're extractors of knowledge, and knowledge is power. So you get to understand that if we can, indeed, create our authentic expressions in our authentic spaces, we will be guided to actually contribute to the universe something that our ancestors will be proud of. And that is our culture, our tradition, our wisdom, and also our relation point, because we build relationships within the spaces, to continue coming together and unifying with one another.
Babaluku, of course, I've been working around Jinja. It's an urban space, hip-hop is understood in different formats with young people. But let's take a look at Amorota and, how do you look at it? How could really young people engage the people here? Because the numbers of young people here is not very big when you compare even the demographics of the whole area. So how could they deal with hip-hop and engaging the people here exactly like the way they are doing it? Because in urban spaces it's quite different.
The idea that hip-hop, is a spirit in itself, it allows us, regardless of our dwelling spaces, to be able to engage. When you look at rural and you look at urban, of course the expressions are different, but the idea that it moves through all spaces, it allows us always to be a point of reflection. So we are here in Amorota right now, and what happens is that we get to learn what people are doing, we get to look at the environment, we get to take in, the semantics that are different from what would be in Jinja. That alone is a knowledge in itself. That alone is an added value point. That alone is now something you're going to expound on when you go back in your own communities. So I think it's not the idea of where we're placed, it's the idea of engaging and practicing and learning together.
Babaluku, let's look at the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace in relation to, Northern Uganda, or, introducing it to Northern Uganda. This year, Hip Hop Declaration of Peace is making 20 years, and we're just, introducing it to the region that, needs also the peace building. So where do you make those connection points, and how can it help the language indigenous hip hop community to make those dialect translations?
I mean, at the end of the day, the beauty is within the knowledge and being presented the structure and the framework that has took a lot of minds and a lot of spirits time to put together so that the culture is honored and represented. We all have the chance and a privilege, to have clarity by reading through and understanding what we desire, and then climatizing that to our regions. And so I feel like in an indigenous space, it's very powerful, because you could imagine, like, in this place where we are, if everyone got a chance to understand the translation of the culture, how would it change the framework of the village? It was very interesting for me yesterday that when we were doing a circle, there was a silence, that's unusual for me, because I'm used to liveliness, Like you gather, there's silence, and so I get to study that sometimes when you don't engage in something that revitalizes your soul, which is what hip hop gives us the ability to do, you self-preserve, You get back on yourself. So with a declaration of peace celebrating 20 years, and now, we probably are one of the first countries on the whole continent who are engaging with it. And with that being said, it's given us a way to understand a framework beyond entertainment, a framework beyond political narratives, And it gives us the opportunity to imagine our own space. You know, how we move, how we create, and how we actually show others, you know, on how to engage with what we're doing. So I think that, you know, those are some of the attributes we're getting from, you know, celebrating 20 years of the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. And also, you know, when we engage in this Hip Hop Appreciation Week, it reminds us, you know, that these are the actions we need to be taking.
I just want to ask you one question, that why did you honor the invitation by Lango Indigenous Hip Hop?
To be invited to come and participate and connect and build with our relatives in the North. This is something that we take with great honor because we understand the connection through hip hop that gives us the ability to not only visit, but to be contributors. You know, so our contribution to get here and be a part of the community is something that we did out of great honor to know, wow, we are actually invited. You know, we could go on that side of town and meet new brothers and new sisters, you know. And for me, it dawns on me that every year when I find incredible young leaders in hip hop culture doing incredible work, whatever it takes, I have to get there. If I hear about it, it is in my mandate to ensure that I grab a team and we go. So this is what happened, you know. Brother Jasper, you know, hit us up to say, hey, you know, we're doing a Hip Hop Appreciation Week camp. And I say, well, hey, listen, man, if I'm in the country, we will be there, you know. And so I feel like the work he's doing is powerful. To come here and experience the impact it's having in the community as a hip hop practitioner is commendable. And definitely, why not contribute to that legacy? That's the question. You know, so we're here to stand in solidarity. We're here to be a part of the legacy. And you know, we might be in Lango region, but this thing is beyond Uganda, you know? So we're leaving an example of a legacy that's bigger than all of us. But we're all guided young people who have chosen to follow and listen and serve. And as long as we are doing that, I think we are here to experience more incredible works and more incredible impact and more communities thriving because of the activities being hosted through this hip-hop conversation.
So earlier you talked about going back to our roots, and that is a sensory bit of it. But we see that in the community today, there's a lot of new ideologies that are always developing, probably due to the media or even the society itself. So we find that a lot of these practices that were done back by the centers they're actually becoming extinct. So how do you intend to change the mindset of the people, since there's now new ideas that they keep learning every single day, and then the other culture also disappears?
You know, and it's interesting. So we had a conversation earlier because I was interested when someone told me that, you know, in this region they don't honor their ancestors. You know, it kept bothering me, and I knew that it's not because of the people. I actually understood that it was because of various conditioning. Because there's no way you have all of this land and you can't honor those who cultivated it before you. Like there's just no way. I wouldn't believe that. But the question is that who has conditioned you to renege or forget, or to not even have the self-value to understand that I need to appreciate. You know, it's actually appreciation. And so when we don't appreciate ourselves, what happens, right? We end up allowing everyone else to tramp on us, everyone else to sell us their ideologies, and we become a people that have no sense of direction. And so you'll get to see that in places like this, if there's been a generational stigma around ancestors, the question is, how much has that impacted the young women, the young men? Because listen, we are a maternal, you know what I mean? Hierarchy here on the continent. You know, it's your grandmother that leads the home. You understand me? So if you don't honor your grandmother, come on, man. Like, or if you don't remember her in case she transitioned, you know, how do you move yourself into a place of honor? You cannot. So you see that if I'm quiet and I can't speak, that means I don't know where I belong. If I don't have a vibrancy in my spirit, that means that I don't understand beyond what I've been presented. So right now, the way we want to use the culture, or the way we'll continue to use it, is by using the word rooted. Are you having rooted conversations, or you're just having a conversation? There's two different things. A rooted conversation will inform you, will move your spirit, and it will impart in you knowledge. A conversation is a hearsay. Yeah, we had a conversation the other day. Things went on. So we want to encourage through hip-hop culture. That's why we say indigenous. Indigenous means I'm one with the land, I'm one with my people. And in respecting and honoring that, I definitely have to honor the way I authentically show up. So the question is, are we being authentic today, or are we emulating? Is the generation that's here able to see how authentic they are so that they could use the value of their authenticity to build and share with other communities? So with hip-hop culture, we want to see that young people, not only in Uganda, but all over on the continent, can use it to be connected, to reclaim their land, to come back in the wisdom of the elders, to impart in themselves a responsibility that allows them to know that they actually are shaping a new future. But this future needs to be one where we're not losing ourselves to alienated ideologies, but we are reclaiming ourselves. As young Africans, we are reclaiming. Like we're in a business right now of reclaiming, bringing back everything they took, everything school took out of you, We're reclaiming it. Every idea that was imparted that was not your idea, we're reclaiming it. That's why hip-hop work is healing work. As an indigenous hip-hop practitioner, my message to the younger people is to get rooted. The idea that, we're living in a generation where a lot of our young people have been bombarded with negative media, to take them or misguide them out of their value, out of their systems, allows me to stand and say, let's use this culture on the continent to preserve and archive our true identity and to honor the land and to honor the ancestors. The reason those things are important, they say a man without his language is a slave, And so when you move into places where young people don't identify with their culture anymore, they're close to becoming slaves, and anyone could come and exploit them. And how do we get exploited? Through religious means, through various philosophies that do not embody in our own systems. They're not things that are coming from our indigenous spaces, but we've adapted to them over time. And over time, we've learned to express ourselves through their mediums, which totally uproots us from the power that we need to be operating from. We as Babaluku Foundation, we are very big on the ancestral narratives because we know there's no blessing when you don't honor those who came before you. And we understand that in Africa, there's this contextualization that when we talk about our ancestors, it's turned into a wicked expression, You go to the Christian churches, they say God of Abraham, God of Isaac. Why do they call God of Abraham and God of Isaac? Or any religion refers to. And why can't you as a young black person refer to your ancestors who directly have impacted your life? So to the young people on the continent and beyond, and here in Uganda, even here in Amolata, it's important to get rooted. The value of your power is in your authenticity. Your authenticity lies within the things that are ancestral to your land and your space. No one could do that the way you do it. Now, if you disregard it and adopt other people's ways, you will always be up on an action block for sale. So get free or die trying is the message. And we get free by getting rooted.
Luka flow.